Would you like to detoxify your life safely? That's what you are going to learn today. So first of all, we are going to look at what are toxins and whether or not you are exposed to toxins. What are the signs and symptoms? And here a little bit of a controversial topic. Is organic quality better than conventional food? And if you are exposed to toxins, how can you detoxify safely using food or the natural products? And I'm also going to share with you some practical tips how you can detoxify your organs safely. So for those ones that don't know me yet, I'm Blanca Campbell, the functional medicine nutritionist. And in functional medicine, we are using the matrix. And in the center of the matrix, there is a mental, emotional, and spiritual well-being. And so if we feel fine, then we are usually healthy. But today we will talk about the impact of toxins that can actually have impact on the mental, emotional, and spiritual well-being. So in March, we were talking already about the mental health. In April, about the power of sleep, where we also detoxify, and the power of breath work. In May, we looked into the family well-being, and today's topic, how to detoxify, impacts the defense, repair, biotransformation, elimination, having enough energy, assimilation, and communication of ourselves. So we are really going to cover so much today. I want to invite you to be open-minded because these topics might be controversial and somebody might say, but organic is not good for us. Or somebody says, I buy everything only organic. So take from this presentation only what serves you. And if you feel overwhelmed because you will discover, oh my goodness, I eat so many things that I shouldn't, just don't be overwhelmed, please, and take it one step at a time. The aim of the well-being presentation is about bringing the awareness, maybe acceptance that there is a space for improvement, and then taking one step at the time, action. And everything that I will be sharing with you today is coming from the functional medicine and also from the PubMed. So I will give you even the list if you want to study a little bit more about that. And don't please ask Mr. Google for answers because those answers might not be right. So let's dive in. If you were to look into the dictionary, what are toxins? You will find something like toxins are harmful substances produced by plants, animals, human cells, and humans as well. Yeah, these ones are the synthetic toxins. So you can see that we find toxins in nature, in plants like beans and lentils. Why? Because plants also want to protect themselves. They don't want to be eaten by beetles. So they have lectins in them. And some people who are sensitive to lectins because they have leaky gut, they have autoimmune disease, they usually say, oh, it's bloating me or it doesn't make me feel well. Animals, obviously, snake or any other animal, they, secrete poisons because they also want to survive. Human cells also produce toxins because they want to protect us, and we will talk about this today. And then humans, yes, we are very good at creating synthetic toxins that we are using. And are they good or bad? Controversial, and we will discuss it today. But what happens to the human body when toxin enters? So toxins block the receptors. They block the receptors, and if you have, for example, snake bite, the poison can stop the heartbeat and you might die, as you know. They can also mimic hormones. So what happens is that we, for example, have thyroid gland, and thyroid gland is producing thyroid hormones T4 and T3. Maybe you have heard about autoimmune disease Hashimoto, where in many cases, Epstein-Barr virus produces toxins. These toxins then attach to the thyroid hormones, and they actually change the molecular structure, and then your own tissue in Hashimoto autoimmune starts to attack your own hormones, and it can damage it. So this might be caused by some toxins. So this is mimicking hormones, and it can mimic any other hormones: estrogen, progesterone, testosterone, leptin, cortisol, you name it, 55 hormones we have in the body. Toxins can also damage DNA, which can, when the cells are replicating, create cancer. It can also induce inflammation, so prostaglandins, lots of muscles that are producing histamine, and we will talk about histamine today. And then we have, for example, botulotoxin, so Botox. And again, is it good or bad? Because botulotoxin in hospitals, it can be actually helpful, because if it's, for example, injected into a leaky bladder, it can help women not to leak the urine, and it can improve the quality of their life. So we cannot judge whether or not Botox is good or not. Yeah, what happens if you get it injected into your skin, which I don't have, because otherwise I wouldn't be able moving my front. But if it's injected there, of course you are not going to have any wrinkles, because all the muscles are paralyzed. On the other hand, if you paralyze the muscles and muscles cannot work after 3 or 6 months, what will be the impact? Will you need more, and will the muscles recover? The muscles that you are using when you are lifting your eyes? That's a question. So again, there is no good and bad. Take only what serves you. So how do you know if you have been exposed to toxins? I would say that my clients very often say, I'm tired all the time. I'm tired every morning when I wake up, every evening when I go to sleep, even after weekend. And that might be a sign of toxicity. So I would invite you to ask yourself these questions. Do you eat processed food with additives, which are very often toxins? Do you eat conventional farm food, dairy products, farm fish? Do you eat large fish? Are you sensitive to personal care products? Do you have any itchy skin? Or even when somebody is using perfume, is it irritating for you? Do you live in an old house with mold? And believe it or not, it doesn't have to be old all the time, because mold can be in bathrooms, kitchens. There might be some leakage from the water, and you might not see the mold, but actually it has impact also on our health. Do you have any mercury fillings or any root canal or any dental work where your gums or teeth were extracted and you were exposed to toxins that directly enter the bloodstream? Do you drink unfiltered water? Do you know what's in your water? Are you living in the city? Do you go for a run on a busy road? All these exposes us to toxins. So the mold and toxins, the typical signs and symptoms are confusion, poor memory. You just cannot remember what you were about to do. And of course, we cannot confuse it with menopause and andropause, where this is happening as well. Abdominal pain or muscle pain. Unexplained weight loss or weight gain. Numbness or tingling in fingers and toes. Metallic taste. Dizziness. Ringing in the ears, tinnitus. Gut problems, bloating, diarrhea, constipation, cramps, fatigue. That's what I mentioned. Mood changes for no reason, excessive thirst, hair loss, and skin rashes. Yes, these are typical symptoms of toxicity. In functional medicine, we are using a 5R approach. So, of course, first we will do the blood tests and cutting-edge tests, urinary tests, stool tests. But if you cannot afford this, here is what you can do. So first of all, you want to remove the harmful foods. And here, harmful foods might be even food that we consider healthy, like, for example, spinach, rhubarb, soya products, but it might not be healthy for you. Another harmful food, of course, would be ultra-processed food. Removing the behavior that doesn't serve you, because it's not only about toxic food, but it can be also about toxic people and toxic feelings. And lifestyle factors like gluten, dairy, alcohol. These ones are the common triggers of intolerance, sensitivities, and toxicity. So when you remove this for 3 to 6 weeks with the elimination diet, then you see, aha, what can I replace it with? And you want to replace the processed food with clean food. So clean eating, what does it mean? It's everything that you would find in the farm or you would grow yourself. So if you go to the garden, now I'm looking at cherries and maybe I see some blueberries. This is food that you can pick on your own and you want it coming from your environment. Everything that has been processed was made by man and it has quite a long shelf life. 1, 2, 3 weeks. That's not really healthy food for you. And this we would be doing because we want to calm down the immune system that is triggered every time when some harmful new substances that are not known to our bodies are entering the digestive tract. And we will be also calming the immune system reactivity. So when you replaced it with something safe, we go to the third step, and that is restore. We always want to restore the gut because ultra-processed food kills all the microbiota, the good bacteria that are releasing serotonin and all butyrate and short-chain fatty acids, all the goodness, the energy for other cells. So when it was killed, we need to replace it and restore it. So you can restore it with prebiotic and probiotic rich food coming from the nature. So everything that has been fermented, kimchi, sauerkraut, kefir, yogurt, preferably from organic quality and maybe like sheep products. Or you can use supplements that are sport-based probiotics. And what is prebiotic? Prebiotic is a food for the good bacteria. It's everything that very often causes bloating. Onion, leek, garlic, fiber, soluble fiber, insoluble fiber, all this is prebiotic food. Then you want to repair the gut lining with anti-inflammatory food. So this is, for example, curcumin, ginger, all the polyphenols, all the colorful vegetables that you can imagine eating the rainbow. And again, you can have it in supplements as well. And then you want to rebalance the lifestyle factors. So what are the lifestyle factors? Sleep, nutrition, community, building a healthy relationship, physical activity, just like movement, yoga, Pilates, meditation, going for a walk, connecting with the nature so that you are in the remission. And you might be asking, but how do I know which toxins do I have? So I always say, let's take the guessing out of the equation and let's look at what we can do in functional medicine. So here we have, for example, a test. This is amino acids organic test. This is a urinary test and also blood plasma test. And you do all these tests at home. So this is actually from Genova Diagnostics, but there are many functional medicine laboratories that do this. They ship the test to your home address. And then, of course, you have to find a laboratory where they will take the blood from you and they have to actually put it into this spinning machine, centrifuge, and they have to separate the red blood cells and the plasma. And this test is done from the plasma. And then DHL will collect it from your house and it comes to the laboratory and they will look at oxidative stress. So do you need any antioxidant support? So what is oxidative stress? Oxidative stress is when we have way too many free radicals in our body. Free radicals are toxins. And yes, our body is able to produce endogenous, so from inside, antioxidants that are going to catch the free radicals. So for example, glutathione is a very powerful antioxidant, yes, but as you can see in this test, it is slightly depleted. Yes, we can supplement it if there is a high toxicity. And what I just also want to explain what is the difference between free radicals and antioxidants. So free radicals, it means it's a single molecule, but everything in nature likes to be paired. So it always works but free radicals, they come and they damage, for example, DNA, or they split, they steal molecules to pair because they're singles and they don't want to be single. And antioxidants are also single molecules, but they pair only with single molecules. So antioxidants in the body are looking for free radicals to pair them and then, stop the damage in the body and eliminating it from the body. And so preferably we want to have the healthy balance. We don't want to be exposed to the free radicals, but if we are exposed, we want to have sufficient amount of antioxidants to remove it so that we are not exposed to oxidative stress. The second category is mitochondrial dysfunction. So mitochondria is an energy powerhouse in our cells. So it produces energy. People usually think that glucose, the sugar, is the source of energy. It's actually not, because glucose gets into the bloodstream, then insulin needs to open the gates to take the glucose inside, and only when it's inside the cell, it comes into the mitochondria, and there is a four-step process in the electron transport chain. And in this electron transport chain, we have supportive molecules like coenzyme Q10 and again glutathione and magnesium, that in that process, it creates ATP, adenosine triphosphate, which is the actual energy for our body. And so we are looking at how the mitochondria, energy powerhouse inside the cell, is working and whether or not it has all the building blocks to support the process. The third category is the need to support the inflammation. So in typical blood tests, we can see inflammation as high sensitivity CRP. CRP, you've probably heard about it. It's showing silent inflammation. But in functional medicine, we are looking whether or not we have enough supporting in the cell, because every cell has a phospholipid bilayer. So it's like a cover of the cell, and it has receptors in it. And this phospholipid bilayer needs to have the fluidity. Yeah, so it's rigid, it has cholesterol in the structure, but it also needs the fluidity, and that's the omega-3. So omega-3, which you probably know from nuts, seeds, fish, increases the fluidity, so it decreases the thrombocytes in our blood, and it protects us. It's anti-inflammatory. And very often we have this ratio of inflammatory omega-6, which is from animal products, but also some nuts, for example, sunflower seeds, which I don't eat. And we want to see the ratio. Anyway, you should be supplementing omega-3 every single day. And the fourth category is need for reduced exposure. So here is the toxic exposure. So from the blood test and from the urinary test, you would see if you have cadmium, lead, mercury. So these are really heavy toxic metals like mercury in tuna fish and so on. And based on that, you would do the protocol. And the last one is the methylation. And methylation is very important. These are, again, glutathione, glycine, serine, cysteine as well, are important for the detoxification of the liver. So maybe you have done the blood test. Very often for the cardiovascular prevention, we are testing homocysteine. And homocysteine is important for the methylation support, so basically cleaning and detoxifying the liver. Because remember, everything that you eat through the portal vein, it comes to the liver, and liver has to deal with that. And then it goes to the kidneys and gut. So these are the three organs that we need to look at. So if you would ever do this, you would know exactly what to target and what to do. And now let's look at how can we minimize the toxins in what we do. And again, as I say, this is controversial. I can tell you that I try to buy organic quality as much as I can, but my ex-husband, he worked here in Basel in a company called Syngenta, and they produce pesticides and herbicides. And he believed that it's helping the farmers in the US to protect the crop, and that without herbicides and pesticides, there would be too much hunger in Africa and so on, I can tell you. So there is a different view of different people, and I don't want to say good or bad. So what are pesticides? Pesticides are designed to kill living organism, insect, mold, fungus, so that the crop can grow and it's not damaged. And it's pretty much used everywhere. In vineyards here in Alsace, where I live, everything is sprayed so that in the end they can harvest the crop and they can produce wine. Farmers spray multiple times. So if you are in a supermarket and it says, for example, the lemons, I see it very often, not treated. And there is a small asterisk. And then when you read it, they say it was not treated with chemicals after the harvest. But throughout the year, it was treated with chemicals. So if I buy lemon in a supermarket and a really poor quality, it will stay in the fridge or even out of the fridge 3-4 months. That happened to me at Christmas for 3 months. I had lemons like this at home. And then when I buy products from crowd farming, which is organic, Demeter, and it's not sprayed with anything, the lemon, when I leave it outside within 2 days, it just turns bad and I have to throw it away. So what's right and wrong? Well, if you want to use the rim of the lemon, the day you buy it, you wash it properly, and then you can use it because it has powerful polyphenols, especially in the rim, in this yellow, and you can mix it, for example, with broccoli. But if it's not organic, then definitely don't use the rim. Toxic heavy metals like cadmium, mercury, arsenic, lead are present in many products in our polluted ocean, as you are going to learn a little bit later. And GMO, so genetically modified crop. We always thought here in Europe that we don't have the genetically modified crop. I was recently in Switzerland. The farmers actually revealed that they are buying the pellets, the food for their cows from Brazil, and it was genetically modified. So again, knowing what is the source of the food that you are buying and talking to the farmers, what they do. Here is the question. Is organic really better? Well, even organic farmers have a list of many pesticides and antibiotics that they can use and in what range they can use it. And they also use manure. So it also might have some negative impact on our health. And very often I buy non-organic products, which means that their farm has not been certified. But I know that the women don't spray it with anything. Everything is harvested by hand. So here is a question. Do you really need the label organic to buy the product, or can you find someone local who gives it heart and soul to create the products? And if buying in organic quality, you can check the Environmental Working Group on their website. This is every single year they produce a list and they say, we check the products and these are dirty dozen, because farmers will always use pesticides, fungicides, and herbicides to treat it. Why? Because strawberries, if I pick strawberries in my garden now and I don't spray it with anything and I leave it in a kitchen, within 2 or 3 hours, it just turns bad and I can throw it away. If you buy strawberries in a supermarket, after 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 days, it still stays the same because it has been treated. The strawberry has so many chemicals that it cannot even turn bad. And the same goes for spinach. If farmers don't spray spinach, it's going to be eaten by the pest, the beetles immediately. Cane, nectarines, peaches. If you have peaches in the garden like I do, you pick them, they turn the mold on them even when it rains. This is very sensitive fruit. Apples, they are treated with wax. You can, if you wash it properly, you will see, you scratch it, how much wax is on every apple, and actually even organic apples. Why? Because they harvest it, for example, in September, and then when you are in June buying the apple, it would be totally dry and you wouldn't buy it. So they wax it so that the moist cannot evaporate. So be careful from where you are buying your apples, grapes, cherries, tomatoes, celery, potatoes, or apricots. However, there is a food and it's called Clean 15. And according to the Environmental Working Group, this fruit and vegetable is not heavily treated, and you don't need to buy it in an organic quality. Of course you can. So avocado, why? Because usually you are not going to eat the skin of the avocado. Pineapple, again, you will peel it and you will eat mostly the core. Onion, peeling it. Papaya, sweet peas, aubergine, cauliflower, broccoli, mushrooms, cabbage, kiwi, sweet potatoes. So if you cannot afford organic quality, here you see what doesn't have to be organic. And now let's talk about the histamine trigger. So I told you that even human cells, as you can see here, these are mast cells. And mast cells, it's immune system, and it's trying to protect us. And why? Because sometimes when we are under stress or we are very sensitive, we have some inflammation in the body, mast cells see this list of food as a trigger, as an invader, and it starts to attack it. So mast cells are going to spray histamine. And histamine, its amine, is the same like adrenaline, which is going to increase the heart palpitations. You might have flushing into the face. You might have itchy skin. So this is typical when you have poison in your body. So mast cells and high histamine. Maybe it happened to you when you were sting from the bee, for example. It might become red, and that's the histamine building in it. And usually you would go to the pharmacy and you will buy antihistamine to remove or block the receptors for the histamine. But here is a list of food that can, on a regular basis, every single day, trigger the histamine. And it's not the solution to swallow antihistamines, because it's going to make you sleepy. But the solution is to avoid it or dig deeper into why your body views these food as a trigger. So citrus, dry fruit, why? Because it has sulfates in it, wine sulfates as well, aged cheese, because it's fermented product, strawberries, spinach, tomatoes, fish, especially if it's so-called fresh fish. If you live in Switzerland, France, in this region, and you buy salmon, well, it's not fresh fish because the salmon does not come from this village. So it has been killed and processed and maybe cooled somewhere in Norway for 3-4 days before it comes to the supermarket, before I buy it here in the supermarket, before I actually make it. How old and putrefying this fish is. Certain spices, chocolate, avocado, you name it, the list is very long. And what else can you do to improve or decrease the exposure to toxins? Baking, believe it or not, and how much we love baking. Because if you bake a cake, if you make something crispy, or if you buy in France baguette that is slightly burnt or really, really browned, it has been exposed to a temperature definitely over 120 degrees, and this creates acrylamide. And that gives the sweetness, the carbohydrates, the sugar in it is almost like caramelized. But higher the temperature is, this creates neurotoxic substances which can kill brain cells. Obviously, 80-20 rule. How could you bake a cake on less than 120 degrees in the oven? It just doesn't. You usually bake on 150 degrees, 180, and something like pizza you do on 220. Of course, you make it really nice, caramelized, and burn. So as much as possible, try to use other methods of cooking, but if once in a while you enjoy cake, then do so. Fried, baked, and roasted carbohydrates. So everything that you really bake on this high temperature, even caramelized carrot, caramelized sweet potato, baked chicken with the skin that is burned, yeah? All of this. What I would suggest that you really avoid is ultra-processed food. This process is called extrusion, and it's, for example, puffed rice cakes. And I made this mistake maybe 16 years ago when my son was small, and maybe at the time was living in Prague. I was working in a corporate world. I didn't know anything about nutrition, and I thought that the puffed rice cakes are actually healthy and then it's good for the diet. And only when I was studying nutritional therapy, they told us no, because this is ultra processed food, and what it actually makes is exposed to such a high temperature that when we eat it, our body doesn't even know what it is, and it kills the microbiota in our gut, and it is so high in carbohydrates. And indeed, now when I do shopping with my clients, and I always show them dark chocolate that has 20 grams of carbohydrates in 100 grams, which is not much, and puffed rice cakes, 83 grams of carbohydrates in 100 grams. I always say I would rather eat dark chocolate than puffed rice cakes. And I would definitely not give it to my children. So if one thing you can stop eating puffed rice cakes and breakfast cereal, and don't give it even to your children, neither to you. This is a heavily processed food. Summer is coming here in Europe, and barbecue is very popular. However, this burnt, blackened meat or vegetable creates heterocyclic amines, and that is carcinogenic. You can check it on PubMed. So again, don't eat anything that was blacked and completely burned, and also make a wise choice of oils. If you are using the marinade, you can find a list, and this is called smoking point. And for example, ghee, butter, coconut oil has a really high point of smoking. What it means that if you put it on a pan, and it's really hot pan, it doesn't start to smoke immediately. However, if you would, for example, take extra virgin olive oil, which of course we are not using for frying, and you would put it into the pan, it starts to smoke so much that even the smoke alarm would come off. So check the list, and if you are using the barbecue, try to use the best possible oil for this. And if possible, steaming and boiling is, of course, the safest way to eat the food. And if you need to bake the cake, try to use the sodium bicarbonate, because it might lower the acrylamide by 60%. Now let's look at other better choices that you can make. A client of mine, a couple of months ago, she told me, but I always buy organic tuna. And I was like, organic tuna? Is that even possible? It's not, because tuna lives in a polluted ocean for more than 50 years. The ocean does not belong to one person that could claim that the animals were closed in a safe environment and it's not polluted. Tuna is very polluted. It is very high in mercury. So what my client bought was a good marketing trick. It said organic olive oil. So the tuna was in organic olive oil, and she thought it was organic tuna. So in general, we have this chain of fish. So big fish eats small fish. So what you want to do in this food chain, you don't want the big fish like shark, tuna. You want the small fish like sardines, anchovies, and preferably from your location. So I like to buy, for example, sardines from Portugal. And again, sardines, it's not going to be organic, but sardines live for 21 days. It's tiny fish. So the amount of mercury it has is minimal. And it's very high in omega-3. It's very high in protein. So just 3 sardines, 28 grams of protein, which is very good. Farm fish. I don't recommend buying farm fish. Here I put a picture. So if you have ever seen wild caught salmon, it's a grayish, dark meat, and it doesn't have these white stripes of fat. But if you buy farmed salmon, And you can actually even watch some videos about how farmed salmon in Norway lives. In closed tanks, it doesn't really have a space to move, and it's fat so that it grows big. And so this fat always stores toxins in it. And the pink color doesn't come from the natural color of the salmon, but just before the salmon is killed, they give a granules of beta carotene and certain colorings to give it this beautiful color. So it's not something that I would recommend. And also, it's just full of parasites. You can see it even in supermarkets. Very often people have food poisoning. It's also very high in histamine because it's not fresh fish. And if you were to put the finger into it and it goes through that, throw it away, because it should be nice and bouncy when it's really fresh fish. Beef and chicken. So chicken, again, when you are in a supermarket and you can see if it has white stripes and it's kind of puffed, that chicken has been injected with water. You can actually see this as well. It's a typical process. All the meat is like injected with water so that it has a higher weight. If you buy really organic chicken that has lived for more than 21 days at least, it doesn't have this cracked fibers in it, the fascia. It just looks completely different. And it doesn't have yellow color and it doesn't have white color. It's just not bleached. So be careful when you are buying the meat. Dairy products, again, it's controversial. If you can afford to buy organic, or if you have a farm nearby, it's better. In general, cows, they're on antibiotics, and also cows, they will have cow hormones. And then these hormones, because there is a fat in dairy products, comes into our body and it has this molecular mimicry, and it can mess up our own hormones. Soya products, again, it's a controversial. Is the soy coming from China or some far away? What impact does it have on environment? Soya is a phytoestrogen, so it's mimicking estrogen. For menopausal women that are low in estrogen, it can be actually beneficial, the soya flavonoids, but I would most probably take it in a cleaned form, in a pill, rather than eating the soya products. For young women that maybe have polycystic ovarian syndrome and they are vegans, and eating soya products every single day, is that a good solution? Probably not. Hydrogenated oils in vegan products. So what means hydrogenated? The hydrogen has been introduced under the pressure to the oil. Why? Because oil is polyunsaturated. What basically means it's not saturated. Saturated means that there are no open bonds for anything else to come. Saturated, butter, coconut oil. But unsaturated, it is exposed to oxygen and to free radicals, and it can turn rancid. So for example, if you buy flaxseed oil and you would keep it open or it's exposed to the oxygen, even just to open it, it turns rancid very quickly. I would never recommend buying flaxseed oil. And the same happens to any oil. So what they do is they, under a massive pressure, expose it to hydrogen to keep it stable for a long time. But then our body doesn't know what to do this. And this is very often in all vegan products, because they are avoiding saturated fat from butter, and they very often use hydrogenated oils. Refined sugar and sweeteners. Very often my clients ask me, I love Coke. Should I buy Coke Zero or normal Coke? Of course, no Coke is the best solution. But in 80-20 rule, if they say that they would buy it anyway, I just tell them buy a normal Coke, because there is at least normal sugar and our liver knows what to do with it. If you buy Coke Zero and it has aspartame and it has all the synthetic sugars that actually taste sweet, it triggers the brain, but then our body doesn't know how to eliminate it. We don't have any enzymes in our body that would break it. And so it's stored in the fat cells. Another product, mycotoxins in nuts, especially peanuts. So really check the source of the nuts. Is it clean? It usually mentions where it's coming from and what you can do about it. And certainly alcohol, because alcohol is a toxin. It's damaging the stomach lining. It penetrates through the stomach into the bloodstream. It's killing the neurons. It has impact on our sleep, you name it. So how can we detoxify? Many years ago, I made a mistake before I became a nutritional therapist, and I went to Thailand to Koh Samui, one island, for 7 days detox. And I thought at the time um, it would be a good idea twice a year to do a severe detox. So basically, no eating and just drinking juices and everything. I had such a powerful Herxheimer reaction, and I will talk about it a little bit later. This was with colon cleansing, liver flush, and after 7 days at Heathrow Airport, I bought chocolate, salad, and everything, and I was back in the loop. So detoxifying daily is a better solution, and that's what I recommend, because our liver, gut, and kidneys anyway detoxify daily. And if maybe twice a week you will do intermittent fasting 20 hours and you do it in a correct way, that would be fantastic. So how can you detoxify your body? Definitely want to drink sufficient amount of liquid. 40 milliliters of water or liquid for every kilo of the body weight. So if you weigh 60 kilos, 60 times 40 is 2,400 milliliters, so 2.4 liters of liquid per day. So just count it on your weight. Eating prebiotic and probiotic food. Why? Because probiotic is going to build healthy colonies of bacteria that are creating butyrate, which is the energy, and it's helping to detoxify the gut. And prebiotic is the food, and it's also the fiber, and the fiber functions as a binder. And binder basically means that if there are any toxins produced by the viruses, pathogen, bacteria, it will catch these viruses and in the stool remove it. So, for example, psyllium husk is a really good binder, clay, activated charcoal, aloe vera, pectin from apples and onions. These are really good strategies. Beetroot juice with lemon. Well, if you have a low blood pressure, this is going to decrease the blood pressure because beetroot is full of nitric oxide. But if you have high blood pressure, it can be a really good solution for you with lemon. It definitely detoxifies the body. Organic brassica vegetable. So I really say organic because you saw the list when kale, broccoli, rucola, really needs to be in organic quality. And so this has ECGC. So these are powerful antioxidants in this vegetable. So brassica family, preferably eating every single day. Broccoli, or if you don't like broccoli, you can, for example, have it in broccoli sprouts. It's in powder. I buy it from BioCare in Female Balance, my favorite product. Turmeric and dandelion. So again, turmeric, you can buy it in pills and then it's more potent, but in many cultures, they use turmeric on regular basis. Dandelion, you can of course eat it if you have it like in the garden, amazing, organic. Or you can buy bitter herbs like iberogast. That really helps with the digestion. You can buy bitter tea. It's usually for, they call it Magentee here in Switzerland. And it's really high in these bitter substances that activate the bile. And bile is then going to break down the fat and eliminate the toxins from the gut through the stool. Garlic and onion, it's a prebiotic. Eggs, they have choline, and this is important for cysteine and homocysteine, which is the methylation process in the liver. Sesame seeds, they are very high in protein, and they're also high in antioxidants. Organic apples, that's because of the pectin. Avocado, walnuts, because they are high in omega-3 and this healthy health effect. Green leafy vegetable, which can be again rucola or baby spinach or beetroot leaves, or you can use also, for example, dried juice of green barley or spirulina or chlorella. That's very, very potent, and you again have to be careful to avoid the Herxheimer reaction. And omega-3, as I said, omega-3 is anti-inflammatory, and I would recommend it to everybody. So here you can see what happens when you detoxify your body too fast. So for example, in functional medicine with my clients, we are using the 5R, and these are very, very potent supplements. And I always tell them, start with 1 drop. Don't go to 15 immediately, just 1 drop. Because if not, this Jarisch-Herxheimer reaction, massive headaches, nausea, vomiting, skin rash, and you feel like to go to the hospital if you overdo it. So how to do it? Take it slow and easy. If you are doing fasting or cleanse juice, definitely use the binders that I mentioned in a previous slide. You can do the caloric restrictions to maybe 700 to 1,000 calories for a couple of days and use quite a lot of the activated charcoal. Eat protein. It can be sprouted mungo beans, and make sure that you don't have vitamin and mineral deficiencies. And if you are fasting, you need to have electrolytes. So electrolytes is like potassium, magnesium. You can buy it in supplements, just in powder or in a salt, or you can use even pink Himalayan salt, which is very, very good. So be careful when you do this. Detoxification organs. Yes, that's the liver, gut, and kidneys. So to summarize again, this is all what you need to detoxify these 3 organs. And you can see the beautiful picture. Here is a detoxification menu that you can do lots and lots of inspiration, gluten-free and dairy-free. And Downshiftology, the website, has beautiful recipes that you can follow. And I also shared with you in a previous sessions the detoxification elimination diet cookbook. So you can follow that as well. So what did you learn? You learn that toxins are everywhere and that it's almost impossible to avoid them. So take only what serves you, but think about the cumulative effect. So even if you make small steps, you are going to decrease it. But if you are having toxins everywhere, the body keeps the score and you might pay the price later on. Think about the daily detoxification from the list. Is there 1, 2, or 3 things that you could implement now to support your liver, kidneys, and gut? And think about the overall impact on your health. So not only the skin reaction, but the mental, emotional, physical, nutritional, and spiritual impact. So what can you do today? Maybe when you are going to have lunch and dinner, you will increase the soluble and insoluble fiber. So you will use some vegetable, broccoli, or maybe if you are making a cocktail smoothie for breakfast, you will add psyllium husk, or maybe you will have 1 apple a day to keep the doctor away. You're going to hydrate, hydrate, and hydrate. And if possible, avoid processed food and ultra-processed food, and promise to me you will not buy rice cakes ever again. I would love to talk about cosmetics and what we can use as cleaning products and in the kitchen, but we would be here for hours and hours and hours. But if this is a topic of your interest, then definitely let me know, and I would love to prepare another presentation. Remember, consistency is the key. And I'm reminding you, all this information comes from the PubMed or from the Institute of Functional Medicine. I did not want to scare you, and I don't want to go into any discussion what's right or what's wrong. I'm neutral in this way. Thank you for your time and hope to see you soon.